Andy, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for, first of all, let me thank you for participating in our leadership series. We really do appreciate it. The whole purpose is to offer insights and expertise and stories about successful executives, and I think we'll have a good time here. And I understand you're in Cleveland, Ohio, right now.
Yes, sir.
So if you would, let's get started. Can you just introduce yourself, a little bit about your background?
Sure. So, my name is Andy Zynga. I'm the CEO of NineSigma. NineSigma is an open innovation intermediary, meaning the company helps for companies that are looking for innovations to actually find them. And I've been at this company for a little over 7 years. I've done this is the funnest thing I've done in my entire life, and we've created a really great growing business. Before that, I built a few businesses in the past, a couple of them over in Europe, a couple of them here, and I also spent 7 years in consulting at KPMG Consulting over in Germany and in London. So that's basically it. So I've been in business for a little over 30 years.
Now, I was sharing my breadth of German when I said Achtung bitte with you earlier. So you're from Berlin?
I am from West Berlin, Germany, yes, and I immigrated to the States in '85 before the wall came down, and I actually watched the wall come down on CNN when I was still in Minnesota running this company, building it.
That's awesome. I went through Checkpoint Charlie years ago before the wall came down, and that was an interesting experience. And so you have a unique background, obviously, and it seems like you've had an entrepreneurial spirit, God knows, maybe since you were a kid, but certainly since your sales beginnings to building profitable businesses. The key question is, were you born to do that?
That's a great question. So I think what's going on is the following. I think there's something in me that I had right from the beginning, which is a curiosity about people, having a focus, being able to listen. And I think that's it's almost like an athletic ability. But even just like athletes, I think to become a good and successful entrepreneur and athlete, same thing, it requires discipline, it requires practice, it requires hard work, frankly. So I don't think there's any great athlete out there that didn't achieve their successes without really working hard. So yes, I think there's an element of, probably born with some of it, but you cannot get anywhere without really, training, and trial and error, and all that.
Yeah, I think you're right. A little sideline here. I do compare a lot of things to sports, and I heard some athletes talking about, and some coaches talking about the whole Tom Brady thing, and how the cheating thing does have to be addressed because you might think, well, it's kind of accepted or not accepted or whatever, but the kids are seeing this right now, and it's going to deter from, well, I don't have to work hard or train hard or this, that. I can just, play around a little bit, right? It's amazing. To say the least, we're in an ever and fast-changing world. You're thriving in one where you're accelerating the innovation cycle. You're making growth quicker, more effective for companies. A couple of things related to that. How do you identify the right opportunities that you engage with, that you source the right innovations and resources for, and then, for that matter, execute change?
Yeah. So we at NineSigma, we developed a preset process whereby we identify the people who could be in need of the services, the kind of services we provide to the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So we don't leave this up to accident, a coincidence, etc. So we have a team of people that identify folks, they reach out to them, and then set up appointments for sales executives to go and share what it is we're doing. We also invest significant money and effort into addressing the so-called self-directed buyer. In today's market, there's a lot of companies, and we're doing all business-to-business sales. Companies usually don't want to be sold to a lot. They actually want to convince themselves first that the partner they're talking to is a good partner to work with. And so we invest a lot in thought leadership. I speak at quite a few conferences, but we also have white papers and papers for academic conferences even. So that's the part how we identify the potential buyers, and they identify us as a partner to work with. And then when it comes to delivering the services, pretty much everything is preset. So over the past 15 years, we've packetized our offerings so that it is really all cookie cutter. So we can, from identifying the right project to finding the right technologies for our clients, that is a preset process that we've perfected over the years. Actually has become a bit of an industry standard. We see it because some of our competitors are copying it, which is, of course, the greatest form of flattery that you can imagine, right? So,
right.
Yes, that's how we do this. So we find them, and then we work with our clients to create that value for them.
So, what would be an example? For example, if I'm a certain business and I come to you saying I've got this business, but it's not going as fast as I want it to go. How does that connection work?
So, this is about like bringing products and services to market quicker than they would otherwise. And I'm going to give you a simple example. Let's assume you're a brewery, you're great at brewing beer, and your marketing department, through focus and insights through customer research, found that you can sell more beer if you have a label that changes color when the beer has the right temperature for drinking. So now you've got the issue. You've got to find an ink that is temperature sensitive and that's smudge resistant, etc. And you could develop that probably with your own people, but you're thinking there's probably somebody out there who's already done this kind of thing. And by the way, the solution can come from any kind of area, right? Could be from food and beverage, but it could also be from medical. It could be from defense. It could be really from robotics, anywhere, right? So any place that you can imagine where something is, like where there's ink in play. And so that's what we basically help them do, is to find quickly within a time frame of 10 weeks or so the answer to that particular problem for a preset fee. Thereby, they overcome that hurdle so they can get to market quickly, get this thing into stores, and then start generating revenues. That's exactly how that works almost every time.
So you're not in the branding business. You're in the finding solutions for them to get their product out faster and most effectively.
Exactly right.
And is there any basis with Six Sigma or not? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of it. If you imagine Six Sigma is about continuous improvements, and actually the founder of our company, he was very fascinated around the year 2000 when the firm was founded. He said, Six Sigma, that really appeals to me, quality, improvements, innovation. So he actually tried to get that name for us here in Ohio, but it was already taken, as was 7 and 8 Sigma. So that's how we ended up with NineSigma. And sometimes over the course of the years, we thought, shouldn't we put innovation into our name? But, now it's become almost like a fad. Everybody's got innovation in their company name, and, the word is thrown around indiscriminately. So in a lot of ways, it's actually a badge of honor. We are now today a market leader in this market, and NineSigma has a brand, which I think is actually kind of cool. So, we feel good about maybe not being like an innovation, in the name kind of company.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Certain names get overused. It's kind of like when everybody started calling their companies .com, no matter what they were. It was all .com. And now everybody calls their companies green. Green
right.
Mortgage Company, green dental service, everybody's green. So,
for sure.
Our business stresses that people join people. They don't join companies. And obviously, talent, I still think, is the number one asset. I may be biased, but I still think it is. And like in sports, great talent wants to work with other great talent because they want to win. They want to win championships. Right. So what, in your opinion, as you're doing this with companies, is the right fit leadership to develop a winning culture and produce winning results, not just once in a while, but consistently? Yeah,
that's a great question, because I've built a few businesses, and I have to admit to my shame, actually, that this is the first time where I've actually figured this out, for myself and for the clients, etc. And I found that it's important to have a leadership team that's really top-notch, that has a passion for the business, can make their own decisions, really that functions with minimal input and direct daily guidance by the CEO, and that's exactly what we have. And all of them are top-notch. So basically, they are great role models in terms of honesty, integrity, great decision making, analytical skills. So all of them, all of them are really, really cut from top-notch wood, so to speak. And I think that's the key thing, So all of them need to be good, sorry, in terms of experience, but also their character has to be top-notch, so that we don't. For example, we conduct everything, every meeting, and everything we do very professionally with respect and dignity. So I think all of those things are really important, particularly from the leadership team, so that it becomes the culture of the company, right? And that's what we have here. And I think that's exactly what it is. And I think in the past, maybe the mistake I made was that I actually thought, due to cost pressures, really went with people that were lacking in some of these particular areas, and maybe also the experience. And if you combine experience with a great character, I think you get great leadership in the entire team, and that's really what it is this time.
Yeah, I had an executive from a pro team tell me not that long ago that they always aim for championships every year. They know they're not going to win the championship every year. They always aim for championships every year, but they require winning seasons every year. And to do that, they need what you're saying, not only good skills, because there's a lot of people with good skills, but who's got the best characters?
Exactly. I think character is really, really important.
Yeah, it seems to be a key ingredient for sure. You've worked internationally, obviously, Europe, the Americas. What differences, or for that matter, advantages have you experienced in working different cities, different languages, and most importantly, even different cultures?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I can share maybe my experience from the selling point of view, because I have a strong sales lineage, and that's what I love to do the most, is to engage with clients and talk to them. And here's what I noticed. So I sold in Germany, Holland, or Netherlands, the UK, the US, and in Belgium. And here's some of the differences in how people have to work with the clients. So I think in Germany, in order to sell successfully, you have to explain the process. So Germans are very, very curious about, can you prove to me that your process actually works? So can I get the results that you're talking to me about? And I need to be convinced that the process you're talking about really works, right? So it's really a very engineering-driven, agenda based on business-to-business sales, right? That's the only thing I've ever done is business-to-business sales. So that's Germany. In the Netherlands, I noticed there's a lot of emphasis on breaking down the fees, because they'd like to know that they're getting a fair deal, So people mix that up with being cheap, but it isn't about being cheap. I noticed in Holland, Dutch companies and buyers will accept a higher price than competitors if you can explain why that is the case. That's what they want. They want to really be broken down. That's another thing. In the UK, usually it's around the reputation of the company. Are you working for a reputable firm? And that's really the driver of the sale a lot of times. If you can prove that, and a few other things, again, I'm simplifying grossly, but I just want to point out, just for the fun of it, what some of those things are that I convinced myself are important. In the U.S., it's really about the personality and the reliability of the team that's working directly with the client. So it doesn't matter if it's a small or a large firm, as long as the team that has the touch points with the clients is reliable, does what it says, and can deliver the service, right? So it's not so much about the reputation of the company, although that again plays a role. And in Belgium, that to me is the toughest place of all to sell, because Belgian buyers, I noticed, are very, very cautious and very hard to make a quick decision. Usually it's a lot of committee buying, and very difficult for Belgians, I noticed, to say no. So usually when they say no, they say like, well, we haven't thought about this yet, so maybe we need to look at that angle. Again, an expression of I will say risk. I don't want to say risk aversion, but risk awareness, so they want to look at everything from every angle. And those are the key differences I noticed in selling in those different countries.
That's actually fascinating. That's terrific. When I was in China, I was always having lunch or dinner, and there was always a general that seemed to join us. And I don't know if they were really generals or not, but they did, and that was part of the process of the sell too. It was amazing. With respect to that, I'm going to kind of skip a little bit here about, the different cultures. board members are always valued leaders in a company too. With respect to what you exactly just said, what's the right fit on boards in these different countries, different cultures?
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's not so much driven by where is the company located. It's really more driven by what kind of business is the company in. So you want to have. So first of all, I think it's important to have independent board members. So board members that are not representatives of larger shareholdings, which the large shareholders, when they're on the board, they're supposed to, in theory, have the good of all shareholders in mind, which of course is very difficult to do because you always have that agenda of protecting your own shares. So there's a certain interest. The independents, therefore, play a very significant role, and it's important when looking for these independents to have some that have experience that's relevant to your business. So if you're a small business in the internet space, internationally, so you want someone who's done all of that kind of stuff. You may want to complement that with some other skills around things you want to do in the future, but you need to have someone who understands your current business. You want someone who understands the future business, and you want to make sure there's also good chemistry. So they have, an analytical mind. They're also of the same profile that I mentioned. They should be honest, direct, have good both experience and character. So if that's a given, I think the board can be very, very helpful. And again, I have to stress it. Again, it's important to have independence there to just balance out the interests, because they can make a board discussion go one way or another just because they have that neutral, independent view. And I must say, I really have always appreciated that in boards. And it's really not a function of where's the company located, but it's really more about the profile of the business, how it works, and just to get the right skill sets out there. So that's really, because I think a lot of times board members are chosen more through, network opportunities, so here's somebody who's available, but I think it's key to really have a thorough search done. Maybe that's the German in me that reflects that, systematic approach to it or something, but that's...
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, you're 100% right, and we do a lot of work with boards now, too, and educating them on the diversity across the board, not just black, white, women, but across the board, and there's got to be some of that, because it's in the best interest of the business, period. Right. So you're right on the money. So how would you advise up-and-coming young leaders then, who are maybe on this website you told me about called Twitch, because they're young, and with the millions of other people, how would you advise up-and-coming leaders to prepare for their career in business, to, with everything going on with digital media and technology, and the world is obviously more global, if you will. What advice would you give them?
So I think I would give two pieces of advice. So first of all, you mentioned technology. I think technology is key. So any kind of person who aspires to be a leader needs to embrace technology, both for their own use. So I'm talking about, the way they communicate. I'm talking about the way they organize themselves and their work, the way they work with computers. So enabling themselves to be more effective communicators and workers, really. And the second piece is around all the different ways by which an interaction with the customer and the interaction of people in the company are conducted. So the automation opportunities in the world today are immense, and it's very important to be on top of that. So anybody who aspires to be a leader, I think people that can embrace all of this know how to make that work for them in companies and instill that in companies. That's key in my view. The second thing I would say is somebody who starts out in a business world, I think, is best off starting in a large corporate, at least in the first 5 years, just because, first of all, they can learn a lot about business, getting their feet wet. But second of all, I think for smaller corporates, the large people coming from a large company are always attractive. But if you start out on a small corporate, the chances to go to a larger one are much diminished. So therefore, I always vouch. Sure, there are other examples, people that left school, Dell computers and stuff, but those are, in my view, the exceptions rather than the rule. And, if a young leader says, I want to make a career and I want to be fairly sure I'm going to get there, well, the lower risk proposition is to go to a large corporate first for 5 years and then start entrepreneurial track.
Yeah, I think you're 100% on the mark. That's the main reason I started with Deloitte & Touche way back when, so... It's a good experience, and you're right. It's a lot easier going big to small and small to big, no doubt about it. Hey, a few personal questions. Not too personal, but personal. Do you have any pets?
I don't have any pets. No.
All right, I got 3 dogs. Would you like some pets?
Well, I talk about it every now and then. So we're thinking, dog, stuff like that. Today we were talking about cats, So I don't know, but I think we're leaning more towards dogs, So I think, at some point we'll do it.
Well, when you get the dog, send us a picture because we have a whole series we're starting called Pets and Their Executives.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get into that. Do you have a favorite activity or sport?
Yeah, so I like to run. So my wife and I, one day we go run typically around 4 to 5 miles. Get up in the morning at 5 a.m. Get out and run outside. Of course, this is Ohio. The weather is usually not fantastic, but these 5 months or so that we have, we're outside all the time. So run, and the next day we go lift weights, and that's what we like to do. So
awesome.
Both cardio and the resistance training,
So you have a favorite movie or TV show?
So in terms of movie, the movie I liked the most ever was Thank You for Smoking. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I did.
It's so funny to me because how cynical this whole it's just incredible. I've never seen a movie like that before. I never have. So it's fabulous. And in terms of shows, both my wife and I, we love Mad Men, so that's great. This whole thing, how they put into pictures the 60s, it just feels like you're right there.
You are. Welcome to the entertainment business. Do you have a favorite book that you've read?
What I try to do is this. So I typically either read more an entertaining book, and usually what I do is, in that case, is usually historical novels. So I like James Michener a lot. So just most recently I read the book Alaska. I also read Hawaii by him, and Poland. I'm half Polish. My mom is from Poland.
Me too.
And so I love those kind of books. Because they're entertaining and educational. And then I will read business books like Thinking Fast and Slow by Kahneman, and The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell and stuff like that. But I tend to mix it up. So one time I read more a relaxing one, the next.
Well, you got to do that. Balance is the key. How about do you have favorite type of music and favorite food?
So favorite food, yes, I love salmon with asparagus and mashed potatoes. That's to me would be like, and some salad, with that. So fabulous. I could eat that every day. Really, it's my favorite, really. And in terms of music, I must say I don't have anything I can really say is the only thing I always listen to, but I'll just say it depends on the mood. So I like, for example, if I want to get some housework done, so do something around the house, I like some peppy music, I don't know, cardio music and stuff, the stuff you get in for cardio work. and then sometimes I like adult contemporary, Sade and stuff like that. So, it really depends on the mood.
Very cultural of you. Very cultural. Hey, listen, thank you so much for participating. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate the time, and so thank you so much.
My pleasure.